you can go and find your in-service center and find your ATIM specialist. Also on that site, we will be putting links to the recordings of all of the sessions this week, as well as a link to the presentations. I am in charge of that website, so I'm not going to tell you it's going to be today. I'm going to shoot for this weekend to get those posted so that people can go back and look at that content. I do have this slide here just kind of talking about Zoom, and some of you are already experts. Just reminding you that you do have the ability to mute your video and your microphone. Sometimes we will kind of do that in mass for everybody just to save bandwidth, and sometimes it can be distracting, and so that just helps the presentation along. Be sure you utilize that chat box. I have to remind myself to slow down, to check in the chat box occasionally. And I appreciate my colleagues helping me monitor that. So feel free to stop and interrupt me if I need to address a question. There are reactions, and you may not see these if you're on a mobile device, or if you don't have the full version of Zoom, you may not have that. So if I ask you to give me a thumbs up, you can use an emoji, or you can physically give me a thumbs up or use the reactions. And you may have seen the participants list already, where some of you already figured out how to change your name to the correct name. But that is also where you might see some reactions. When I go full screen, so when I share my screen, it will mess up what you're looking at. So you can have the opportunity to hit escape on a computer, or if you're on a mobile device, maybe double tap and kind of toggle between these different views. So hopefully it won't be too confusing or distracting to you, but I want you to get the opportunity to fill out any forms we ask you to fill out, or to go to the presentation. So this is the presentation link. I used tinyurl.com. If you have issues with URL shorteners, then you may need the full link, and somebody can probably paste that in for you as well. But this will take you to the presentation, and you can go in there and get all the resources. And we are going to do a quick pre-survey. So if you haven't done this already, you should be able to click into the presentation and do this pre-survey. And we can also paste the link to that pre-survey into the chat. And so I see where Carol has posted the pre-survey, and Robert has posted the full link to the presentation. So right now already you're juggling like 3 things. You got Zoom, the presentation, and a Google form. So I'm going to give you a minute to kind of get all of that going. While you're doing that, I'm just going to briefly introduce myself. I am Brandy Caldwell with JSU Region 6 Technology in Motion. And while people are filling out that survey, I'm going to get my ATIM specialists to unmute their mic and introduce themselves. And if we can do it in number order, and I don't know how many we have here, but it's no need for everybody in the presentation to introduce themselves on the mic, because it would take us the whole session. So if just my ATIM people can introduce themselves, and then the rest of you, if you can put your name and your school in the chat box too, we'll let people finish that pre-survey. So go ahead.
Hey everyone, Barry Wigginton at University of North Alabama.
Hello, I'm Courtney Wynn Hamilton, Athens State University, Region 2.
And I don't believe Andrea is here, so I am Robert Maben, the University of Alabama, University of West Alabama In-Service Center. I'm Region 4.
And I'm Carol Foster, Auburn University, War Eagle.
All right, I think that covers all of our TIM specialists. We may have some more join us in just a bit. And so I am going to go ahead to our pre-survey. We have 78 responses, so it looks like a lot of you have already been able to respond to that. And so as that is populating, and I mean, this is the thing I love so much about Google Forms, is that we get this real-time data. And so that very first question is really just for us to see who's in the room. And so we have a lot of instructional support. We have a good variety of people from different grade levels, even have a pre-K kindergarten person. So I think that you're going to find that Google Keep is going to be something great for your productivity. But then I'm also hoping that you can see some of the applications for your students. Because if your students have a Google account, they automatically have access to Keep. So this is a tool that a lot of teachers may not be utilizing with their students. And so hopefully after today, you'll feel comfortable doing that. I love the rainbow of how many in-service centers we have represented here. So we've got a lot. My JSU people, thank you for coming. Those of you that are in my region. I always say that if you are in my region and this is the first time you're seeing me, you need to let your principal and your central office people know that Technology in Motion is a free, customizable technology training PD service. And so anytime that you need help, whether it's on small scale with just a small group or an entire district, we are happy to work with you. Of course, we're missing seeing you guys face to face. So hopefully when the school year starts, you'll see more of us. My school uses the following. I've got over 60% of you that are almost exclusively Google tools, and then some of you that can use either. So that tells me that your students most likely do have a Google account. And then this is the part where I get to see what experience you have using Google Keep. So we have a lot of people who have never used Google Keep. And it looks like I put it on here twice. Sorry about that. And the extension in the browser, we're going to look at that, and then note-taking apps and software. There's a lot of other ones out there. So I'm not saying you should abandon what you're already using, but hopefully you'll see that this one can be used for a variety of reasons. So. All right, so that's a good percentage of you, 84 got to take this survey. I will tell you this, we are going to have an attendance document. And so if you did not get a chance to do the pre-survey, don't worry, that is not what we're using for attendance. So you will have an opportunity to fill that out later. So first thing, we're going to look at Google Keep. So I have some screenshots in here, and I'm also going to be going out to the program itself. So the beauty of Google Keep is that it is a web-based platform, and it's also an app. So you have an opportunity to use it with your mobile device, or you can use it on the web. I probably use both of those equally. There are a lot of things you can do in one that you can't do in the other. And so it just depends on what I need to do. The other thing that is nice is that Google Keep has become one of the little icons on the right side of many of your Google applications. And so if you see that little yellow light bulb, then that is Google Keep. And so we're going to see how those Google Keep becomes helpful in all of the other Google apps. So what can I do with Keep? Well, let me tell you, I have the most ridiculous grocery list that I use for Google Keep. Now, I know that that is not academic, but it is a sanity saver. And so we're going to look at that. You can take notes. So just basically keeping up with notes. I'm a sticky note person. And when I was in the classroom, I would have sticky notes around my screen on my desktop computer. I would have them on my desk. I've kept that company in business and still do. I have lots of sticky notes. But this is a great way to have digital sticky notes. And so that's kind of what I like about it. You can organize them by labels and by colors. And so that is a much better strategy than my paper sticky notes because they get lost and then I don't remember what I put on that note. You can get reminders for these notes, which I think is a nice added benefit. You can add images, you can have drawings on them, and it's available on all devices, which again is another really nice feature of Google Keep is the fact that I can access it anywhere. So the first thing that you can do is just basically create a new note. And so a lot of the things on these slides are going to be sort of the step-by-step process for doing that. And it's very intuitive, like many of your Google applications are. You create a note just by writing in the take a note box. So I'm going to take a minute and move these tools around here. And we're going to go out to Google Keep. So first of all, how do I get to Google Keep? Well, Google Keep could possibly be in your waffle menu in Google, so you can find it. It's the yellow light bulb. Or like so many of your Google tools, you can type the name of the tool .google.com, and that takes you out to Google Keep. So if you've never used it before, you're probably just going to have this blank screen with this box at the top that says take a note. So you simply click in that box and you're ready to take a note. So what I like about this, this little take a note section is that you have an opportunity to give it a title. So I'm going to give this a title, Virtual Summit. Now, this would be a great way for me to take notes about what I've learned in the summit. So I can say Google Keep. Great for notes. Okay, and so I can just continue adding to this note, and very simply, that is how you take a note. You don't have to do anything fancy. You can click off of that note, and now here's my note. So it's ready to go. So that is the first step, is just creating a basic note. I can go in there and do a lot more with that note. And so here's just kind of the anatomy of the note-taking process. So I'm just going to open this one back up. And so I just put in the title, I put in the information, and then I have all of these other tools down here that, that I can use to make this note more user-friendly. And so right here is listed an anatomy of all of these things that you can do to this note. So I'm going to just start from, let's start from the right. And on the note, you have 3 dots. And this allows you to delete the note. So obviously, if I did not want that, I could delete it. The next thing is add a label. You're going to want to label your notes. It's going to help you filter when you get lots of notes. It's going to help you find your notes. And it's going to be crucial when you start using these notes with students that they have labels. So as we talk about how to use them for students, when I first saw this as a former high school English teacher, I immediately started thinking digital note cards for my students in speech, for my students in my English classes, and the label feature is a great way for them to, you know, categorize those note cards. So that is a really beneficial thing, is adding a label. So when I click add a label, it's going to give me any labels that I have created. Now, if I go in here and I look for a label that is not there, so let's say that I'm looking for a label called technology, I can simply click this plus and create a label called technology. The other thing is I can have multiple labels on a note card. That is important because sometimes it fits in numerous areas. So maybe this is also called ATIM, also called CS for computer science. Then I'm going to say this is also on the Google Level 2 exam. So all of those labels can live on this one note. So I love the labeling feature. The other thing I can do is add a drawing. Now, I am terrible at drawing with the trackpad on my computer. I've tried drawing with a mouse. It's terrible too. But we are going to use that drawing feature when we go into the app. So I'm going to save the add a drawing. Another feature you have is make a copy. So obviously, if this is a note that I wanted to have multiple copies and then add different information to it, I could. So let's say that I've got the title like I like it, I have some basic notes, and then I want to have duplicates of that note that I can then add different ideas to. So that's one thing you can do for make a copy. This is probably one of my most used features, and that's show checkboxes. So I'm a checklist kind of person. I love to be able to have a list and check off those items. Okay, so I'm gonna say show checkboxes, and look what it does. It adds a checkbox there, and it has a spot for me to add my next item. So let's say I'm gonna list all of the things I learned in the virtual summit. So this morning, I learned about Google Earth. Yesterday, I learned about Seesaw. And then I can add other notes to say great for elementary. And so let's say that I'm going to use this note to go and find that recording, or I'm going to go and look at that slideshow, and I'm going to research that topic. So once I have looked up that topic and I want to know that I need to go to the next one, I simply check that box, and I have the completed items at the bottom. So again, for somebody disorganized like me, I love the fact that I can check these boxes and see what I have completed at the bottom. So that's a great organization technique. Take a minute and type in the chat box if you can think of a student application just for simply the labeling or the check boxes if you were going to have students use these notes in class. So let's see what your thoughts are. Oh, somebody said math vocabulary. That's great. Keeping students organized. Sure. Let's say that they're doing a project. Note cards for research papers, the label, steps in a process, their weekly schedule. I love the engineering design process. Look at all of these ideas just simply for labeling a note and adding checkboxes to a note. So if nothing else, I know, because not only did I teach high school for 13 years, but I also have 3 children ages 10, 13, and 20. They struggle with small steps, organization, breaking things down. So this is a great way for them to have a process that they can go through. Now, I did want to mention this too. If I need to uncheck an item, I can. So let's say that I checked it off inadvertently, or I checked it off, but I realized I need to go back and do more research there. I just go and uncheck it, and it populates back into that list. Another feature that's nice, and I call these kind of the little handlebars in Google. If you've ever hovered over an item, say in a Google form or Google Sites, you realize that when these 6 dots show up on the side, it means that I can move items up or down. So this is great for students that are doing, say, a science project or experiment, and they have developed their set of steps and they realize one step needs to go ahead of another. They can simply move those things up and down. It'll help them prioritize. I think about when my students start brainstorming ideas for papers, they can simply put their ideas there and then be able to move those ideas around. So you have that ability. And over here on the right, if I don't need that at all and I don't want it on the list, I can simply click that little X and delete that item from the list. So going back to the 3 dots, notice I can hide the check boxes. And that way, if I don't want it to be in a list like that, I don't have to have it. And then look at the bottom, copy to Google Docs. So if I had a long involved note that I had been taking, I can click copy to Google Docs and it creates a brand new document for me. And we're going to look at that in just a second. But that is a game changer when I think about note cards for research papers, how my students could quickly dump information into a document and then they are ready to go. So I really do love the ability to add those labels, to add those check boxes, and make this into kind of a to-do list. Now, we're going to look at these other tools as well, but I want to make sure that I covered everything here. The one thing that I did not mention over here on the note is this little thumbtack. So this allows you to pin a note to the top. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. I'm just going to close the note and show you what happens. These notes up here are notes that I have pinned to the top of my Google Keep. These are the notes I use most often. These are the notes that I come back to and I am adding information to frequently or checking things off frequently. So I like to pin certain things at the top. It makes them easy to find. It's right there, just like I used to put the sticky notes on my computer screen. So it gives me that opportunity to see it at a glance, and notice that in the note, my labels and everything are still visible, as well as my check boxes. I can't do anything with that note until I click on the note to open it up, and now I can manipulate the items in that note. All right, the next box there is archive. So rather than delete a note, if you don't want to get rid of it completely, you can archive a note. And that way you have an archive of all your previous notes if you needed to get to them later. You can add an image. And so this is something that I've started doing more recently, is adding images to my notes. Now the image will go at the top of the note. So there's a lot of uses for adding images to your note. And I'm just going to close this and show you some images that I added to the top. Good old Bitmoji. This is something I created in Pic Collage, which was an app I talked about yesterday. And this has JSU and Technology in Motions. This is my work note. We're going to look at how to create these cool headers that you can stick at the top. It's just an image. Here's my grocery list. I put an image there as well. But your images don't have to be single images. So here, you'll love this one. Check out this note. My son, Brady, who is 13, had a birthday in April. He created his birthday list for mom, and he just went through on his phone and collected screenshots of a lot of the things he wanted and added all of those images to the top of that note. So you see, it's not necessarily academic, but my kids have started finding ways to use Google Notes to their advantage. And so I thought that was really cool. That's his birthday list. So the way you would add an image to a Google Keep note is you'll simply click Add Image. Now it's going to pull up any images that you have on your computer, and then you can grab that image and put it in there. So I am just going to grab this tiger eye. Because my kids go to Springville High School. And so this image is something that I pulled for my husband the other day because he was doing something for the school. And so I've got this image here now at the top. And if I've got it like I like it, there's my image and there's the rest of my note. So I can just scroll down and see all the information in my note, and then I've got the image at the top. If I didn't want that image, there's the little trash can. I can remove the image and I'm back to my note. So when you do add image, you can add multiple images, but just adding one will put it at the top of your note. The other option is changing colors. And so I am very visual, so I tend to color code my notes and label my notes. So of course, red are the work things to do. These are the things that are important. I need to do them now. And so since this is a work-related note, I could make it red. So you could kind of, you're limited. You don't get like a rainbow of colors, but what Google has done is give you some colors that also promote readability over the top of them. So I'm going to say, let's make this one kind of this orangey color. And so now I've chosen a color for my note. This is probably my second favorite feature of Google Keep, and that is the ability to collaborate. So let's say that several of my colleagues, so Robert and Barry and Carol and Courtney, we're all attending this virtual summit, but we can't attend every session because, you know, like me, my child has an orthodontist appointment tomorrow. I can't attend all the sessions. So what if we all decided to collaborate on our notes from all of the sessions? And so now I can add Robert as one of my note collaborators. And as soon as I do that and click save, Robert will be added to my note. Now, Robert and I both can go in and add information to this note. We have done this as a team, particularly in some of our Power School training, when there's just an overload of information. We had people doing screenshots. We had people creating YouTube videos. Oh, I bet Robert is adding something there. I don't know what that is supposed to be. Be awesome, I bet. There we go. So Robert and I are now collaborating on this note. He can add hyperlinks. He can add pictures. We are collaborating together on this note. Very powerful. Takes it way beyond sticky notes that I might have, and I would just put the sticky note on my colleague's door. Here, we're actually collaborating and working together on a note. So I think that's really cool. The other thing, notice that I get to see when this note was created and when it was edited. So I can see that, but we're both editors. So notice, even though Robert added that item, I can check that item off or delete that item. So you want the collaborators, hey, you want the collaborators in your note to be sure that they are not deleting important things on your note. All
Hey,
right,
Brandy,
so yeah.
you got a couple of questions in here that I don't
Yes,
know how to
go ahead.
answer.
Okay.
About images.
Mhm.
When you put an image in, can you manipulate the image? Can you resize it, move it around, do things like that?
Not as much as I would like. Pretty much when you put the image in there, it's going to kind of conform to the top of the note. So for example, I'm just going to stick this Bitmoji image in here. So this Bitmoji image was originally square. So it's going to grab it and put it in there as a square image. I can't really make it smaller, but it is going to conform to the size of the note there. So when I open it, I don't have a lot of options. So if it's this huge image, it's still going to take up a big space in the note. I think
Okay. Here's a related question.
Yeah.
You took that from a Google Drive. Can you drag and drop, or do you always have to have it saved, uploaded, that kind of thing?
You're talking about images?
Yes. Can you drag and drop an image?
I
Let's say, can you drag
know.
it from the internet?
Yeah, I don't know that I can drag and drop an image here, but I will show you with the Google extension some options of adding things. And then also when it comes to the app itself, you definitely can quickly add images. And if I noticed Keith did a raised hand, so Keith may have an idea on that question. If anybody else has input on that, or if you know a way to drag an image, just holler.
Okay. One last thing here. 2 questions. It says, can you collaborate with students? I'm sure you can, since you did with Robert.
Mhm.
And how do they get notified? How did Robert get notified that you had started a collaboration? And then I'll mute now.
Yeah, I think Robert can confirm, but I think Robert would get an email letting him
Yes,
know.
I got an email.
Yeah,
And it came
letting him
fairly
know.
quickly, so.
And then Keith says, yes, you can drag an image to the new note. And I have not tried that. So,
Brandy, this is Buddy. You can, but you have to initiate the note to start with. You can't just drag it in one of the keep open fields. So you have to double click to initiate it, and
Yeah.
then you can drag your image in. So that's.
Hey, this is Keith. If you drag it to the take a note area, it will work too.
okay, there we go. And I think that's kind of what Buddy was alluding to as
Yes.
well. Yeah, so several questions about the images, and hopefully that answered some of those questions. I'm trying to look and see. Yes, you can delete the image, and you can copy and paste an image. Those are some great points and great questions. So just saying, if I just add this image right here, how do I delete the image? You'll see a little trash can. As you hover over the image, you can delete that image. You can have multiple images. You see that there. And Robert, did you drag that image in or just add it?
I've been trying to drag them over. That was copy and paste right there.
So the copy and paste works.
Yeah.
So many options for adding your images. But that, like I said, is such a useful piece of these notes, and the ability to collaborate, because you can see how quickly Robert was able to jump on and collaborate on the new note. So I love the fact that that several people who are users are jumping in here. And yes, Keith, I think that's what Buddy was referencing, is dragging it to the brand new note rather than the existing note. So yeah, cool. Awesome. Thank y'all. So changing colors, adding collaborators, and then I will note to you that you can create family groups. And so I have like a family group that is created with my notes. And so I just made that group, and that includes my husband and my sons. And so they're all collaborators, like on our grocery list. So that is the way you can add your collaborators. Look here where it says remind me. Here is where you can add reminders for your note. So this is something I do particularly a lot with my work-related notes. I can set reminders like later today, next week, and I can even add locations to this note. I can pick a date and time. So if I wanted to choose a date and time, so if I wanted to choose, I'm just going to leave this as is, 2:30. Notice too, I can do a repeating. And if you're familiar with Google Calendar, it feels very much like Google Calendar. So let's say that I create a note. For example, I have a certain time that I have to go in and update my timesheet for Jacksonville State University. So I could easily create a note that says, don't forget to update your timesheet. And I could set it to repeat every Wednesday at 2:30 in the afternoon, or once a month. So I have the option to set some custom parameters if I want a repeat reminder for this note. So I think that that is pretty powerful. And then also I can pick a place. So if I choose work, let's see, do I have a work address? Let me do JSU. There we go. So I can choose JSU and save. Now notice it's like tagged with a location, and that location goes to a Google Maps reference. So think about that when it comes to your notes as well. This morning, Brooke Beasy did a session on Google Earth, and it just started my mind spinning on, you know, what if we have certain locations that we add to these notes too, that they could be very powerful. And then those links can take us out to other things like virtual field trips. So I just think there's a lot of applications, but the reminder section is where you can go and add all of this information. And notice with my account, I have home and work as locations that are in my Google map, and it has pulled over into this.
Hey, Brandy.
Yeah.
A timely question here. Jamie asked, does the reminder sync to your Google Calendar?
That is a great question. So we are going to look at that in just a minute, because we're going to look at where Google Keep is living out beside the other apps. And so hopefully, since I have added a reminder for this one, we'll see. And I'm embarrassed that you're going to see how crazy my Google Calendar is. All right, so I'm going to close this note. I have it pinned up here. I have all of the information I want. I've got collaborators. I have a reminder. I have labels. So all of these things that I can add to a note, and we really have just kind of scratched the surface of what it can do. So when you make a list note, which is what we just did with the check boxes, it's just a reminder here that you can write the item, click enter to move to the next line. So you don't have to click each time. You just hit enter and keep adding your items when you have those check boxes on there. It's got a list note. And so here's just kind of the anatomy of that, where you can drag everything and you can add that information. Colors and labels. And so I mentioned adding labels to your Google Keep. And let's just look at the other feature of labels over here on the left. If I click reminders, it's going to show me any notes that currently have a reminder attached. And to go back to all notes, I click notes at the top and it goes back to my normal view. I'm going to go down here to a label that I've got called Keep Tips. And here are all of my notes related to tips on Google Keep. So if I wanted to color coordinate my notes, and I didn't do that when I first started, I could click that label and then go in here and recolor everything. The beauty of these, and notice these have multiple, some of these have multiple labels on them. So it's going to pull up the Keep Tips. And if I click feedback, it's going to pull up feedback, but it won't pull up things that have both labels. So if let's see. Yeah, I was going to say, I can't hold down one label and grab the other label and get the ones that are both labeled that. So I can really only look at one label at a time. But when you think about all of the labels that I have, this is a quick and easy way for me to go through and filter and grab any labels that I have with that particular label on them. I mean, any notes that I have with that label. And then just to get out of that, I can click notes and go back to my view with everything. Over here on the left with all of my labels, I have some menu options at the bottom. I have edit labels. So when I click there, I can go in and I can delete or edit any of my labels en masse. So that's helpful. And I can go over here and create new labels. So before you get started with Keep, if you wanted to, you could go ahead and create all of your labels. Now, I started with some labels, and then as I used Keep more and more, I revamped the way that I labeled my notes, or I deleted some labels that I didn't use anymore. So that's a nice feature there to edit the labels. If I want to go to my archive and see what has been archived, that's where I do it. And if I want to select something and then trash or see what's in my trash, sorry, these are the notes that are in my trash, and these are the notes that are archived. All right, so we talked about the anatomy of the note itself, colors and options and labels, what we're just looking at there. Click on a label to filter. Open your options with the hamburger menu up there at the top. And then you can see that you can add a label, and then we can share and collaborate. So that one is on here too. So if you have not had an opportunity to do this, I would love for you to try it out to create your own note in Google Keep. Now, if you're on a mobile device, go ahead and download the Google Keep app. It is free, and we are going to be looking at some of the neat features in the app as well. Try adding an image. You can add it in a variety of ways. We've already talked about that. Copy and paste, drag an image into a new note, change the color of the note, and collaborate with someone. So as you're trying that out, I'm just going to double check the chat and see what other really good tips. Any that you guys want to bring up, ATIM folks? I see that Keith mentioned that you can select multiple pics and drag them into the note. So that's cool.
Hey, Brandy,
Yeah.
let's try this.
Okay.
Let's say that you're the principal at a school and you get a radio call that Sam needs to ride the bus home today to his grandmother's. So
Okay.
watch this. I'm on my iPhone. I go to a new note. I click on the microphone. Sam needs to ride the bus to his grandmother's house. And now I'm going to stop it and add you to this note as a collaborator. Let's see. Where did it go? And in a second, let's see if you get it.
So I'm wondering if I need to refresh it or how quickly it will pop up.
Refresh.
Refresh. Thank you. And did you share it with the C Brandy Teach email?
No.
Because I have a few emails.
Okay. Hold
You can see I have a few notes, just a few. So I'm not seeing it.
because I haven't sent it yet.
Oh, I was like, I'm refreshing. What is up? So we'll see that one pop up in just a minute. I did put on the slideshow some information about the reminders that we just looked at. And so you can see there that you can pick a date and time, and you can also pick a place.
Okay, now look.
All right, and Carol is already showing us how savvy we can be with the app. So the app has a lot of nice features that I utilize that I do not have on the web version. And I am trying to get there. I don't know why I'm not seeing it.
You didn't see it because I didn't click on the check mark.
Hey,
So
there
now-
it is, immediate once you actually share
All right,
it.
now open it.
Boom.
Look at there.
Look at that, a recording. Carol is already doing my presentation. She
Yeah,
knows
hey.
that one of the cool features.
Yeah, play
And
so you can hear a tractor fall out of my mouth
what?
and a hay bale.
Sam
Something so
drove
country.
to his grandmother's house.
You can hear me in the background talking too. So the app has so many other cool features like that recording feature, which I think is super cool. And so notice how quickly, once we got it all figured out, that note was shared with me. And so that is a quick way to send something. And I think that's what somebody might have been saying in the chat. Did I see that regarding an administrator using the notes? Yeah, sharing the notes is administrator sharing a note called questions. And so, yeah, we're looking at lots of great ways to use Keep. Before I jump into the app, I'm going to go ahead and pull up Keep in some other apps. So here is my email, and you can see where Carol just shared that note with me. So I got the email notification, and over here on the right, you can see that I have calendar, Keep, and tasks all right there nested within my email. And so I can open Keep, and I can see any notes that are pertinent that I want to add information to. So like as I'm reading my emails, I may need to make a list of things to take care of today. And I can do that right there in Keep. So it's there in my email. And then right over here, it's also nested in Calendar. Now, we were talking about the reminder. So here is my Tuesday, and it will be easier to look at day instead of the whole month. So here are the things that I have listed in my day. And I don't see the reminder that I set in Keep. So it did not sync with my calendar because I do have this note with a reminder. So there may be another step that I'm missing when it comes to that. But the reminder will be in the form of an email or a desktop notification, depending on how the reminders are set. So you do see it though nested over there with, somebody mentioned slides. It's there in almost all of the apps. Let's see, my note did sync. You have to allow notification. So that probably is it. See, I noticed that people are saying how to check reminders under my calendars. So in calendar, so I'm just gonna look at, I got a lot of calendars too. So I am going to look there at my calendar settings. And let's see, reminders. Some of my TIM people give me a heads up on where I can activate those reminders on my calendar. Could be our event notification.
I'm not ATIM, but if you go down on the left, scroll down, it's an actual calendar you have to go. So you're on family right now, keep scrolling down.
Oh, it is a calendar called reminders?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that.
If you get out of settings.
Yeah.
And then
So
on
it's
the
over
left,
here
check.
under calendars called reminders. Thank you so much. So there is an actual calendar called reminders, and look at that. Thank you. I have so many calendars that I don't have that one checked. So there, it did sync with calendar because I knew Google should, because it's so smart like that. So thank you so much for giving me a heads up on that. So reminder is over there listed under your calendars. And if you have a reminder set with that, then you're good. Look, I have several people like, go there.
Who was that that gave us that wonderful reminder there, that tip?
Yeah.
Say it again.
One of our mini Brandy Caldwells.
This
Thank-
is Christine.
Christine Strickland.
Thank you.
Thank you
for that. I appreciate it. And this is what I love about, and this is the way I would do my hands-on sessions too. I'd be like, hey, who knows how to do this? So we are going to kind of move away from the web version, which is super helpful and something that I use all the time. And we're going to look at the app. Now, this is where I really kind of get challenged, but I am going to attempt to share my screen with my iPad. So if you will just give me a moment, I am going to do share screen. And I'm going to share screen with my iPad. And so this is where it asks me to share my screen here. And voila. So I am now in my Google Keep app. Notice it looks very much like my Google Keep on the web. And I am just going to kind of minimize that so that I can, sorry, I'm manipulating like 5 different toolbars here and a window with all of the people. And that way I can see my presentation kind of behind it. There we go. All right, so this is my Keep app. And I am going to scroll and you can see there's all of these. If I go to the note that Carol sent,
tell Sam to ride the bus to his grave.
I can still get that lovely recording. So in my app, I have a lot of other really nice features I can do. And one of them is audio notes. Okay, so I'm going to click the plus sign down here at the bottom to start a new note. And I have several places that I can add things to my note. So with the 3 dots, this is where I can access the make a copy, the collaborators. I can specifically send this note to someone. So if I wanted to, I could send it in text message or other ways, add my collaborators and label. So that's my 3-dot menu there. And then over on the left is where I have these other options like my check boxes, recording, which is what Carol used, and drawing, choose image, and take a photo. So I'm going to do, let's see, I'm going to do the recording feature. I am so excited to be presenting today at the virtual summit. I am so excited. So there you go, a recording and a note. And I can call this feedback. So think of the ways that you could use that recorded note with your students. We've already seen a way, Carol gave us a great example of a way you could use it with an administrator or with another teacher. But how could you use that recorded note feature with students? Now, this is just in the app. What do you think? One way that I was thinking that I could use this with students is for them to go and quickly interview each other. Let's see, a poor man's dictaphone. There you go. Record and convert to text and use anywhere. Absences, clarifying instructions. That's great. Buddy, yeah, jump in and tell us a way for administrators that you were mentioning.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen if that's okay. We had a PLU. We do a lot of those with technology in motion.
I may have to stop screen sharing with my iPad.
All right. Let's see. I will share my screen. Let's see. I've got a couple screens running here, so I apologize if it gets weird. But let's go here. All right.
Brandy, you may have to make him a co-host.
Oh, yep, buddy. Oh, sorry, buddy. I'll make you a co-host. Sorry.
Dr. Maven in the house.
There you go.
Look at there. I got all the bells and whistles now. But we have a PLU that we do with administrators, and this was just kind of German. It just came out of the session, which I thought was really cool. But on the actual app itself, right? If you put the Google Keep on your phone, and if I just go to slideshow for a second, present. What you do is, you'll click on the microphone right at the bottom, and then from there you'll say whatever you want to say. Now, my principals tell me that they are very seldom in front of a computer all throughout the day, right? But they have their phone with them at all times. So they're using, as Brandy mentioned, the audio file component. So what they will do is they will hit record, and then it will, and then you'll get the over here on the far right, you'll get a little button that says start talking. And as long as you talk without taking a 3-second break, it will keep typing all the words that you want said. So for instance, this is the one that I did a few minutes ago on Enterprise City Schools, contact the superintendent, right? And so my principals are telling me when they only have 2 minutes to walk from one building to the next before something comes up, they can get their phone out, they go in, they do a recording, but they do it in their audio file section. So what that will do is, and this is the important part here, is they will have a section so that when they get back to a chair, right? So when they get to a chair or section, they'll go to their keep section right here, and it will be sitting there. So they will have like 8 to 10 audio files throughout the whole day, so that when they finally do get back to their computer, they can come in, and from their computer, they'll be able to go and listen to it. And so it will have the actual contact the superintendent of Enterprise City Schools at 3 o'clock today. So the principal at one of our PLUs shared that, and he said that he wears this out because throughout the day, if he gets disrupted where he loses his train of thought, he uses those audio files, and it's because when he gets back to the office, and it gets a little quiet, he can go back and look and make sure he checks everything off for the day. So I just thought that was brilliant. And it was just an interesting way in which people are trying to stay organized, but also so that they can also communicate where they're taking their mobile device. But you realize many of them are not near a computer most of the day to facilitate that. So that's why the mobile app is so important for educators.
Yeah, and that's such a great point. And I will tell you this: my husband, who is not very techie, and he would probably be embarrassed that I'm saying this, when he has things he wants to be reminded of, he is infamous for sending me a text message, like speaking into his phone and texting me something he wants to remember. So this would be a great tool for him. And you know, we've already seen how easy it is for you to just go in there and to do a recording. And so you can do that. The other next thing that is on here is a drawing note. Now, I have a handy dandy Apple Pencil. You don't have to have this. You can draw with your finger on your phone, whatever is convenient. I'm using an iPad right now, but I can simply write some information down. So call Buddy. I have terrible handwriting. That's why I type everything. And there is an eraser if I mess up, and then I can tap the pen again. If I want a different color, if I want to get fancy, I just tap that pen a second time, and I can change the size and the color of that pen. I've also got this cool set of markers that I can do so much with, and then a paintbrush for all the fancy. So the drawing notes, think what fun kids would have with that. And if you just are more comfortable writing and you're better than typing on an iPad, I think that the drawing note is a really cool note. You can still give the note a title. Oh, you know what? How embarrassing. I'm trying to type on my computer, but I'm working on my iPad. Whoa, this is when it all gets surreal. So anyway, I just typed the title there as artwork, and you can see what the note looks like there. So I can easily draw on the note, which is kind of a really neat feature. And the next part is a photo note. Oh, and somebody said, does anyone have suggestions for pen-like devices for students with Chromebooks? We will kind of put a pin in that and think about that at the end, because that's probably something that a lot of people would be interested in.
Hey, Brandy, I'll drop Monique a link to something that I use.
So anyway, I love the drawing note. I think it's super cool. The next thing is a photo note. And so this is really a game changer for the app. So I can do choose an image. So I could grab an image that is on my iPad or on my phone, like I mentioned that my son did when he was making his birthday list. He just did screenshots from his phone and added all of them. But then you've also got the take a photo option. Now this is out on my front porch, but I am going to try this by taking a picture of this book. And I'm going to use that photo. All right, so I have a picture of this book because let's say this is a book that our principal wants everyone to get. And if you're like me, you take pictures of things and there are all these random pictures on your phone. You have no idea why you took that picture. And so when I click on the picture, I have some options here that I did not have when I was on the web-based version. First of all, I have this little paintbrush. So now I can actually annotate on this if I want to. So I can say, you know, this is the book. Okay, so I could do that. I also have the ability to make a selection. And hold on, I think my drawing is messing me up there. Let me just erase. There we go. So I have the option to make a selection with this book, and it is giving me some grief. There we go. And to add some shapes to it too, so I can label this and add some information. There's almost like a book snap, even if you've heard those, people do those. You've got the pen, you've got the brush, so you can easily annotate on your picture. But I am going to clear the page. This is a really unique feature too. I can show a grid if I needed to show a grid on this picture as well. Think about all the applications for a ruled information on top of that, or a grid, having students measure certain things. So I've got that option. And I'm going to say none. And when I go out of this and I am adding information to my note, this is a really neat feature. Now, I noticed I had to kind of go out of this and come back after I added this information. Look at the option, grab image text. What Google magic is this? So if you have a handout or a book cover or something that has text, Google is going to use that OCR tool and grab that text and dump it into your note. I just discovered this, and this is one of the coolest features of the app, is the ability for it to grab text off of an image. So for people like me who snap pictures of business cards and handouts and lists all the time, this is a game changer. I could potentially go in now and manipulate this information into checkboxes, list, or I can delete certain things. So I really think that that is a unique feature of the Google Keep. And so that is some of the things that I really love about the app. I do want to mention the search feature, and I have that on here, and I'm not going to get to everything because I've loaded us down with information on Keep. But when I click search, I have a lot of options here, and I'm going to move my keyboard. Look, when I do search in Google Keep, I can do that same filtering. I can even search by people who I'm sharing notes with. And then I can search for things. So let's say I'm searching for food. Any note that I have that has food in it comes up in the search. How powerful is that? So you have a lot of different unique search options when you choose the search up there at the top. I am going to close out my screen sharing with my iPad, and I'm going to go back to screen sharing with my device so that we can kind of wrap up the presentation. Other mobile features that are on here, taking a picture there, drawing, it shows you that OCR feature. Downloading to Google Docs, I mentioned this earlier. When you click copy to Google Docs, it is going to create a brand new document and dump it into Google Drive. So if you have students that are creating a note card, they can quickly dump that into Google Docs. You also have Google Keep nested over there on the right side of Google Docs. And you can see in the screenshot, I'm not even going to go to it because it is just simply just like you see. When you click on that little light bulb, you're going to have the option add to document. So this allows me to have multiple notes that I can add to the document. So this, when I'm thinking as an English teacher, lots of note cards. I pin them all at the top. They're right there next to doc, and I can dump all the notes straight into one single document. And then I can go in there and worry about formatting and organization. So that is pretty powerful. filtering notes, you can do it by color. You can use that search function, like I said, and search for a lot of different things. Reminders can be set in the app as well. I do want us to take a minute and look at the Keep extension because it is very powerful. Okay, so I am going to go out to National Geographic. And let's say that I have a article here on Mount Everest. And let's see, I do not want to subscribe. So we'll just stick with this main page. So let's say that I'm a student and I want to utilize this information. So I could link, like copy this link, go into Keep and add it there. But if you go and download the Google Keep extension and it's living on your Chrome browser, wherever you go, you click on the Google Keep icon up there. It automatically grabs the link of the page that you're on, and you can go in and you can add labels right here. So if this label is dealing with research and it's also dealing with science, I can add all of these labels. Notice it's automatically saved, and I can still go in and I can add my information and notes from the site. This is also a game changer if you have a student watching a video. Watching a YouTube video, they can pull up that note and they can take notes on the video, and the video is linked to the note. Now when I go back here, I can see my latest note, and that I messed up because I've used National Geographic before, so it is not at the top. But typically that one would be at the top, and I can go in and search for National Geographic. And you can see where I have grabbed things from National Geographic before. And this is the note that I was just working on. So I can go in, and these are not just like digital note cards, but they also give the links, so the bibliography information on using that extension. So I think the extension is very powerful. I give you some links and some examples of some extensions that you might also use with Keep. And then just kind of the anatomy of how the getting the extension works. You can right click on an image on a page and save to keep. So this, and I may not be the greatest site to do this from. Okay, but let's say that I want to grab this image and I right click on the image. Look at the option I have. Google Keep Chrome extension, save image to keep. So now that's just another way for you to quickly dump an image into Google Keep from a website. Is once the Keep extension is there, you can right click on it and you can add it to your Google Keep. So I am looking at, can this be done with a Mac? I'm actually on a Mac. I see that question. Chrome browser is what you have to use that extension. So if your students are on Chromebooks, this extension can be added and they can use this when they're researching. It's a quick way for them to grab that information for a works cited page. And that's really powerful when I go into a Google Doc. And I need to add that bibliography information, I can just simply click right here and I can go in and I can grab that note and dump that information over. Another thing that is on here is a video on that researching process that I was just talking about. And then this is a really unique video. It's been around for a while and it's clever for adding grade comments. Now, some of you that are using Google Classroom may never use this, but this is a unique way. If you have a Google Keep note with some grammar comments like I have right here, I can simply go in and I can add this information. Now, I do have the 3 dots that say add to document. But if I do that, it's going to add all those comments. I could have made a different note for each comment and do it that way. But what I want to do here instead is on this, I am going to give the student, let's say that there's some information here. I can do a comment and I can grab this and paste it into my document. Notice that I have grabbed a bunch of links that could almost be like my tier 2 instruction for students. So when they make an error in their paper, they can see my comments and they can go here to where they can find that rule. As an English teacher, I love that. You can probably think of a lot of other uses, but I thought this was a really clever use for using those grading comments. And then here is a comment bank that someone has made available if you're an English teacher. And then this is a really cute one, doc stickers. So the idea here is using docs, if you like to award your students stickers for things that they do, you can have a note that simply has your own sticker. You can create it in drawings or use a Bitmoji or whatever you want. And I can click add to document and boom, I have now given my students a sticker. So I love that. Every kid loves a sticker, even if it's a virtual sticker. So I think that that is a really clever thing to do with Google Keep. So just a whole list of things that you can do. Hopefully a lot of tips. You guys have taught me something today. Hopefully this is something that you can use. Just to share with you how crazy nutso we are in my world, is that we have a shared grocery list in my household. And this is all of the 382 items. And as I need to add new items to the list, I actually just go and uncheck those items and it repopulates the list. And at the bottom, I have this note collaborated with my whole family. So when mom is going to Walmart, I can actually see what everybody needs from Walmart and they can add it from their phones. So that's my super nerdy way that I like to use Google Keep. All right, I am going to stop sharing and see if there's anything else that I need to address. You can find the, Carol has been so nice to put our attendance document in the chat box. And then it's also there in the presentation. If you still have that open, you can access it. And it is on slide number 38. Slide 37 also has my Twitter handle. And one of the first few slides has my email. And as a bonus on slide 37, there is a Google Keep Pinterest board from the website Shake Up Learning. And that is a wealth of resources for you when it comes to Google Keep. All right, so I'm just gonna look back through the chat. Once you have finished that attendance form, you are free to go. But if you want to shout out and ask me a question, or I'll be reviewing some questions in the chat and give you any feedback.
Great job, Brandy.
Yeah.
Awesome job. Hey, Brandy, I have a question. Is there any way to share a label yet, a collection of notes? Because I just don't see it.
I wish there was, because I would like to be able to do that, not share, have to share it note by note.
Yes, because that makes it a Pinterest collaborative board, which is what's missing from this one app. That's probably the one hole it has. One thing Carrie does, and I thought it was pretty neat, is she takes pictures of her classroom on the very last day of school because she has everything immaculate, all of her sets and all of her centers. And what happens is during the summer, maintenance comes in and just takes the whole room apart and cleans the room. And when she comes back in, she doesn't remember where everything goes. And my elementary school people in here will say that. Y'all know you have it a certain way, but I just thought that was a neat one. And the other one is principals will take snapshots of room configurations that they want to share with other teachers. So I've seen teachers, like my PLU people have said, they like to take pictures of classrooms that are exemplary, you know, and they're like, wow, I really like this layout, and they'll share it in their faculty meetings.
Oh,
So
yeah.
those were two smart ways to use it.
I like that idea. Thank you. And thank you, Buddy, for sharing your screen and showing some things there. And thanks to all my ATIM peeps for keeping me straight.
You
Oh,
guys
and
are
I
setting
like
the
that.
bar
Somebody
so
says,
high.
then the photos aren't clogging up your photo roll. That is true.
Oh, wow, yeah. That's smart.
You guys are setting the bar so high. I'm a little concerned about my drone session tomorrow.
Oh, psh. I'm just sorry I can't be in. I can't do any Thursday sessions. I've got something going on. So I'm sure it'll be great.
Well, it's
Right.
tomorrow afternoon. I'm hoping for no rain if I decide to go outside with it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was hosting
Randy,
this morning
Yes.
for the
what if you inadvertently archive something? Can you unarchive it?
I believe,
Yeah.
yes, when you're on the web version, for sure, you can go over there to the left and go all the way down below all your labels and click where it says archive. And I think when you're in the archive, you can unarchive. if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yep.
Maybe Brandy
then-
might want to stop recording at some point in time.
Oh, yeah. I need to do that. Thank you.